Great, and hopefully you can all hear me and Michael. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get this going. Here we go. So, hello everybody. I am Karen, and Michael, say hi.
Hello.
And we comprise your regulatory team. So, we will be taking you through the new system today and answering any questions you have, and then also helping you get your stuff converted over and working like you want it to be. And so, we will talk about some of what just happened. If you haven't been into BillTrack50 yet to see your new sheets, you might be a little startled. So, or if you have, possibly you're already startled. So we will talk about that too, and then we're here to make sure that, as to the degree we can, it all is working smoothly for you, and whatever work you had before is still there. So we are your team for that. Obviously, Patsy's always available for questions as well, and she can help you too. Okay, so Michael, are you ready to talk about regs?
Always ready to talk about regs.
Okay, here we go. To kick you off, Michael, I hear that regs have a slightly different process than bills. Can you give us some of the highlights and how that might affect our system?
Sure. So where legislation is linear, it's got a start, middle, near finish and finish. It follows a path. Regulations are in almost every instance. I can't think of a state that it's not. They're more circular. They are meant to be a work in progress. They are where the rubber meets the road, where legislation is kind of more pie in the sky. When you need those details, that's where regulations come in. They're circular in that there was a start a long time ago, and every year in some states, every 5 years in some states, people review them and take a look and see what changes need to be made. Now, there will be updates made in between those cycles if needed, but generally speaking, it's a regular process where states are going to look at their regulatory code, see if, what changes need to be made, whether it's references to other parts of code that's changed or to dramatic changes because, either technology has passed or there's just better ways to do things. And so it's definitely harder, but it's an important part of the advocacy process.
Sure. Would you say it's a more leisurely process?
It's slower, um, but it's just as important, if not as important as the legislation side. Especially if you're in a heavily regulated industry. If you're not working with your regulators, you're not doing your full advocacy work.
Right. You're missing part of the story. Okay, so because it isn't as fixed a process, and because it is the administrative branch, and maybe people don't engage with it as much as far as the public goes, uh, it's published in a different way, which has always sort of stymied us. So if you've been using BillTrack50 to look at regulations before, as you know, what we did was read the bulletins for you and let you know if your word was somewhere in the bulletin, right? And so, as Michael was saying, it's slower and it's circular, so regs come back up. So they don't necessarily publish them day to day and update them hour by hour like they do for bills. Instead, we might be getting them from a periodic publication, which could be daily if they do put it on a website, could be weekly, bi-weekly. Couple states it's quarterly. So the data is coming in at a different pace and in a different way. So it's not on the websites necessarily in a tidy reg by reg fashion. Uh, it's in bulletins. And so that is also part of what's made it hard for us to let you track it. So moving on, um, what we wanted to do to give you a proper regulatory tracking system was actually give you one row per regulation, which I'm sure you all want and are excited to see, so that you could see when a reg moves from proposed to final, or gets reviewed, as Michael was saying. And also that will let you get more relevant alerts. and actually put comments on a single reg, and those comments will stick with the reg, that kind of thing. Also, having one reg per row in your regulation sheet will let you actually add relevant comments that will stick with that reg. So makes the templates more useful. That additional information also lets you query using some other fields, which I will show you in a minute. You can put it on your custom reports and that kind of thing. So there's going to be more information there for you to work with. And then finally, we were able to do some AI on the regs. And I will show you how that is interesting between the regs and the individual documents and all like that. So that is pretty cool too. So that was kind of our key aim, was the one row per reg, and then trying to get more information for you from the regs so you could query more effectively. Okay, with those goals in mind, Michael, let's show them what we can do.
Yay!
Okay, so quoting noted regulatory expert Michael O'Brien, this is easily the best regulation tracking product on the market. Hey, okay. All right, so I am going to bring over BillTrack50. Here we go. Okay, so I've got this wind turbine sheet that I have set up. So you'll notice right away that I've got some additional fields in here. So these are all the new columns that you can pick to put on your regulation sheet. So effective date, if it's effective and we can find it, comment deadlines, expiration dates if it's temporary, hearing dates if we know them, links if we can give them to you. This reference is the legal reference if we could figure it out. The agency and the agency category, like we do for bills and committees. So now we've got this agency in here, all kinds of information for you. Hopefully this will prove much more useful. And then you can still add additional columns. So if you go into BillTrack50 and look at your reg sheet, you're not seeing this, but you could. So just go up into the regulation templates and work with your template, whichever one you're using, and click on the columns you want, just like you normally would. You'll just see that there's a whole lot more columns to pick from now. Okay, so I went through a couple of them. Two biggies. Obviously, agency is going to be super useful for querying, but type and status. So, Michael, can you talk a little bit about what we tried to do for type and what we tried to do for status, like what we're trying to communicate with that? And I will go back to the regulation sheet to remind you.
Sure. So so type is really kind of, there's some overreaching types of regulatory changes, just like there's different types of legislation. You've got uh resolutions and different things in legislation. You've got similar things in regulations. You've got rule proposals, you've got and that has different statuses. You have notices. Yeah, and notices are broad. They can be anything from a hearing notice to you know notices of state implementation plans becoming final. Lots of different things. Some notices are going to be actionable, some are not. So you've got to read them. Um, Emergency or temporary regulations, those are regulations that are changes but don't necessarily go through that regular regulatory comment period, that process. And they are almost always temporary. There is almost always a permanent rule if they want that to be permanent to follow, but otherwise it's going to last 30, 60, 90 days. I think they can last up to a year in some states. Guidance. Guidance is how does an agency interpret a rule, and that's really important for your compliance team to know. So when those documents come out, very important. And then executive summaries, and that's or executive actions, and those are similar to presidential orders or issues or orders from the governor, usually from the office of the president or the governor, and not necessarily the agency.
And we are capturing the presidential executive orders. We are not currently capturing very many of the state executive orders. Just by the way, that's the data that's in there right now.
Yeah, they're definitely fewer and far between. During COVID, you saw a ton of executive orders. Understandable with changes happening almost daily. Less so now. It's definitely less. Uh, a lot of times it's states of emergency and different things. It's not really uh, as active on the governor's side, on the state side, as it is on the federal side. And then status is where is it in that process? Is it proposed? Is it in the midst of changing from proposed? Um, and that's that amended status. Is it withdrawn? Not all regulations, while they're designed to finish, not all regulations cross that finish line. They're sometimes pulled, whether that's from comments from the public or comments from within the administration. And then final regulations are regulations that are approved and either effective or about to be in effect. There's a couple other statuses out there approved. Some states, the agencies approve before it's technically final, approved by the administration. And so that's a status. And I think there's one, oh, and the rule review status. And so, like I said, regulations follow that cycle. Rule review notices are important because that tells you that the regulation is open. And if you need to act on that regulation, if there's something that you don't like within that regulation, during that process is when you should act, whether or not it's technically open for comment or not. During that review period, it is technically open for comment.
Very good. Thank you. So we will have these definitions written up and on the website for you to refer to. So right now, if you look in the blog, there is a here's all the regulation stuff post. And then we're going to get some of this nitty gritty, like these definitions up for you to also see. And that should be coming in the next few days. And Megan, to answer your question about executive documents, right now we're only capturing the presidential ones. So we are not currently capturing the state ones. That might change. Let us know if you feel strongly, all of you, let us know if you feel strongly and you would like to see some of those executive documents.
We got some questions.
Yep.
Megan, yes, if the executive order is
No,
in the bulletin.
Steve,
No?
no. If it, no, we're not currently getting them for states.
Oh.
So that might change. So let us know if you would like us to start trying to get the executive orders as well, but we are not currently capturing them
Oh.
for states, but we do have the presidential ones. And yes, we're doing the changes and rulemaking through the registers unless there's a better source. And so, yes, the guidance we're getting is through those registers, or if they do have a website where they publish all that, we try to scrape that and capture that together. So happy to answer that question, Thomas, for any specific state. Let us know like specifically what you want, and we will tell you everything about the sources we're using. That is not a secret. So just let us know exactly what you're interested in, and we will give you a very specific answer as far as the sources. Okay, so I had switched to the query. So the query still works the same as far as the keywords goes, but you can do the narrow by type and status, and I'll talk about some nuances there back on the main screen. And then you can pick by agency category, like you can by committee category, and they're pretty much the same categories. Or you can look for a specific agency. So this can be really useful if you are looking in a specific state. Then you might want one or two specific agencies that you want to track everything they do. So you can also just look for everything that a certain agency is touching. Okay, so that is a lot more that you can query by. Hopefully you'll find all of this helpful. And then we still have the date ranges. Since there's not sessions, you can still chop it up. However, importantly, the data now starts January 1st, 2024. Any regs older than that have been purged from the system. So it's 2024 forward. But the good news is all 50 states. Okay, so back to the regulation sheet here. in this grid, you will see that we've got a number of documents column, which you might want to turn on. And that will show you how many documents are associated with this reg. And so this is kind of the key thing that we did is try to take the documents and tie them together so you can see what's going on. So let's look at this Ohio one. All right, so we'll have a summary for the entire reg. And this is an attempt to summarize the entire series of documents. So it's looking across all of the documents we've got for this reg and trying to tell you the situation and also trying to take a stab at like the status. And if the regs are old, like this one, it's set to become effective 5/30/2024, and then there'll be a 5-year review. So that the AI is trying to tell you what it can. This link official document, when you're looking at the entire regulation, is going to go to the page the state has for that whole reg, if they have one. So some states do, some states don't. Some states just have bulletins, and there won't be an overall page for you. Then we can click into the documents. So these are all the documents that go along with this reg. And so you see we've got these different things, and we can click on one of them and see the specific document now. Okay, so this is only this and not the rest of the bulletin. So this is just this one reg. This summary here now is for this specific document. So the previous summary was for the entire regulation, but when you click through to a specific document, then it's summarizing just the document for you. Also, this state link, now it goes to the specific document we're giving you so you can get the original. You can always download them out of this tool as well. And then we've just got, here's the reg for you. It still does the highlighting like it did before. So it's like, here's where it says wind turbine. So that is the regulation itself. Now, for the states where it is chopped out of a bulletin, so let's look at this California one. Let's see, these final guys are just a little announcement out of the bulletin. So here's where it was on the page. So you'll have this weird spacing because this was not your reg. This is your reg. This down here is not your reg. So it can look kind of funny. So don't, like if you get a blank page, just go ahead and scroll because it is down there somewhere. And this is because like this is literally where it was on the bulletin page. Sorry, that's not a little better, but at least it is just your reg. So that has the effect of you can now actually search your keywords and you're not going to get extraneous other stuff from the page. So when you are looking at your keywords, this kind of has two effects. So this is important to know. It's only going to get me regs that actually say wind turbine within the reg. However, it is searching across all of the documents. So if you happen to somehow have, any of terms and one word is in one document and the other is in a different document, you will get that result. So you'll get a couple like random results because your words were actually on two different documents. Not when it's a phrase like this, these have to be together, but when you have any of and it's on two different, or even an all of and they're on two different documents, then you'll get them, which is a little bit weird, but I mean, it's not going to happen much. But on the plus side, you can actually use none of pretty reliably now because what else you have on the page, there isn't, that the text is actually genuinely just your reg. Let me know if that didn't make sense and I'll take a shot at explaining it again, but the searching should be better now. Should really give you your results. Okay, so that is kind of the initial show off of this. Hopefully you're excited. Goodness knows it almost killed us to make it. Okay. So Chris, the status bar, no, because as Michael said, it's not like there's not a beginning and an end. So that's not really something we could really do with any accuracy, and it's pretty state dependent as well. Okay, so I wanted to kind of highlight for you this, how we're doing some of this data here. So the version date is going to be the version date on the document. When we've clicked through and we're looking at the documents, that's the actual date the document was published. So that makes total sense. The version date on the entire reg now, like for this California one we just looked at, there's 7 documents. This version date is going to be the newest date on any of the documents. So when you're querying, keep that in mind, that when you set those dates, it's going to be like basically a reg that has had activity within those 2 dates. So that is a little bit different than it was before, but that is the version date's going to keep changing on your regulation. The type is, we have kind of a hierarchy of types. So if it initially comes to us as a notice, it'll be marked as a notice. And if then we get the actual proposed reg, it'll be marked as a reg. And then if it actually gets reopened and there's a review later, it'll get marked as a rule review. But if we get a notice, again, like a hearing notice or something, we're not going to say, oh, no, it's just a notice. We're going to like leave it as a reg. So the type is kind of the highest priority type of the documents. And then the status, same thing, it kind of only can move forward. So, if it's proposed and then we get a notice, we're still leaving it proposed. And then if it becomes final, then we'll make it final, even if later there's some amendment. And then later, if it gets like withdrawn, then we will show you that as the status. So we also have like a hierarchy of statuses. Hopefully that makes sense. This reference is the rule reference, and that is hopefully the same on everything. The summary is the summary of the whatever highest status document, and that is the state summary, not the AI summary. The agency and category should be the same across them. The effective date is the most recent effective date. The comment deadline is the most recent comment deadline from that group of documents that describe that reg. So that's kind of how we pulled that all together. And hopefully that makes sense. And happy to give you the details if you care a lot about how we did the hierarchy thing. Happy to discuss that in detail. And you click on the title to get into the reg. So there's not like a bill number for reg, so you have to click on the title. So Megan, yes, all 50 states are here, even the ones that require payment. Some states want large payments. Other states are more reasonable. But yes, so that information is all in here, including Massachusetts. And that is not at all the most expensive one. God love them. Thank you, Massachusetts. Totally reasonable there. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show. You still have old features like elevator safety rules. I don't know what that has to do with wind turbines, but you can say, hey, what's similar to this? It will see what has similar documents from other states, and then you can look at that about other elevator things in other places. We do not have the similar here. That is still coming. I will highlight a couple other things that are still coming. But you do have it for the individual docs. So I will talk about this in a second. And then the reports are there. So you can generate a report. It will have all this data on it, or however much of this extra data on it that you want. So this extra, like the agency and stuff like that, you can now put on your reports without having to enter it yourself. Okay, so Thomas is asking how quickly the data comes through. That is a very, very valid question. So for the states that post it to a website, we'll get it and it should be with you the next day. For the states that publish it to a bulletin, we are those should get split and it should be in there the next day, but depending, it might take us 2 days, but it should come through pretty darn quickly. But of course, the bulletins, like if they're weekly or every other week, then you're only getting new regs from that state every week or every other week. But yeah, it should be the next day or maybe the day after. It should not be a week plus, or I'm going to have stern words with some people. So yeah, our goal is a day, and it should hopefully never be more than 2 days. Certainly not real time, because it just takes a little time to do it. So, and they're weekly anyway. All right, so that is that. Let's go back and see what else I meant to talk about. You guys should try to keep me on pace, because I could just babble about all these things. Okay, so some nuances, some things to be aware of. As I mentioned, the keyword search now looks across all documents. So that's good. It's going to look in the proposed and in the final, and you'll get like any reg that has that stuff in it. But if you're searching for several words, they might be on two different documents. Unlikely, but just a warning. If you get something totally random, go ahead and exit out. Just assume that that's what happened. Um, Not everything is tied together. So in every state, we think that we have the proposed tied to the final. So you can kind of count on that much. If you see any that are obviously the proposed and the final of the same reg, and for some reason we didn't get them tied together, let us know and we will tie them together. Um, so help us out there, but we've tried. And in all 50 states, we think we have an approach to let you actually track it through the process. For the hearings, sometimes in some states, we just don't have enough information in the hearing to figure out to easily figure out what reg that is. So you might end up with just some naked hearing information. If you don't want those, you can just say, don't give me reg type hearing or notice, and you won't get those, and you'll only get things that are actually regs. But if you do care about the hearings coming through, then you can leave them in there and you will get them through. In more than half the states, we do have the hearings tied to the regs. So it's not everywhere, but it's certainly more than just a couple of states. So you will get those naked hearings coming through, if that makes sense, what I mean by that. Okay, so regs only visible when you are logged in. So this is pretty important. So for right now, only BillTrack50 users who have at least a free account can see regs. So you don't have to be a paying customer, but you do have to have registered for a free account to be able to see a reg. So if you get your email with your reg alert and you click on a reg, if you're not logged in, it's going to make you log in before you can see the reg. If you share a link to a reg with somebody else, then they won't be able to see it unless they get a free BillTrack50 account. So that means the reg widget is not as useful as it was because you can't click through to see the reg as a stranger. So if you've got a map up on your website, we've removed the links for now, and we are open to conversation on this point. So it could be that we will let them be used as part of widgets again. For the moment, we have so many people scraping our bills, and it's really a problem. And fighting that and keeping the site working smoothly is a struggle. So I'm worried that if we put the regs up and we make them scrapable, that we will be absolutely inundated, and I don't want that yet. So we've got to figure out like a way to keep that from happening, which is non-obvious. AI and just also good actors and bad actors alike can scrape so fast and so hard that it takes us down. And so we're constantly like monitoring for that. It's also a problem for the state websites. So wish them luck too. Okay, regulation row is based on docs. So as I mentioned, that means the version date is not just fixed. It will now change as new documents come in. The version date will change on your regulation. And then, as I mentioned, for the regs that are chopped out of a bulletin, they might be like halfway down the page before it starts. So if you open it up and it's just blank space, scroll down. It could literally be like the last line on the first page is where that reg started. And also, when you're looking at it from the bulletin, every so often you might have the header footer, and it'll like have bulletin and then page 7 and then whatever. That's just part of the text that was in there. Hopefully, it's not too problematic. Whatever. Maybe we'll eventually manage how to figure out how to get that stuff scraped out. But yeah, if your reg goes across a header footer, it might be there for you to see. Okay. Before we get into pricing, I've already spilled the beans there, but any other questions about how the data is working and what's going on? And we will get to like what happened to your bill sheets here in a second, or your reg sheets here in a second. But any other questions about the data, how this is working, what you want to know? Beth, yes, Georgia, we only have final regs. And honestly, that's a miracle. So we'll take it. So yes. And also North Dakota. We only have final regs, not the proposed regs. So just heads up on that. Okay, so if a regulation change is related to implementation of a bill, is the bill cataloged or linked? No, it is not. I am sorry, we have not taken it that far yet. Um, but yeah, we can discuss. Although it's not obvious to me how we would accomplish that. I'm always up for a challenge. Um, any other questions about how these reg rows are working and how they're related to documents or where we're getting the data or anything like that? Oh, I should have. Michael,
Yes.
one more thing to talk about before we move on, the alerts. So now,
Uh,
because we have like real data in here, we can give you some actual genuine alerts. Do you want to talk about when these different kinds of alerts would be useful?
Um, yeah, so I mean, it depends on, alerts, just like legislative alerts, it depends on what you need to do with the information. Um, I always think it's important to look at new regulations because you need to, even if you're in compliance, you need to know what you need to be in compliance with before it goes final. And so, if you need to take action, always better to know while that regulation is open so you can make those comments to get needed changes. So, new regulations always important. New documents, again, depending on what you're doing, I I always tell people new documents, more important than people think, especially, if we're attaching hearings and other pieces to that. Those documents are more important than new versions, or other things that you might see in legislation that you can deal with on your own.
Right, but that's what it
Um,
means. It means we got a new document that we associated in with that reg that you already have on your sheet.
Hearings, if you need to take action on a regulation, attending hearings, submitting comments, best way to do that. So if advocacy is part of your regulatory program, new hearings are very important. New statuses, to know when those things move across. Um, New type maybe less important, to know if something's in rule review. A lot of times there's not a lot of changes in those rule reviews, so just having them roll, could be important, might not be. New effective date. Again, if you're in compliance, those effective dates are very important. If you're on the advocacy side, if you're in an association, you know you're not necessarily complying, but your members are, you may not need to know it, but some of your members may absolutely need to know those effective dates. So, it all depends on your position, your organization. Um, I will tell you, your alerts should be less than the legislative side, and so try them out, test them out, see what you're getting, see what's useful for you. That's going to be the best way for you to determine what alerts are right for you.
Yeah. And for effective date, we're doing our best. For some states, it might not be perfect yet. So if you notice that there's a state where you like to work and we don't seem to have very many effective dates, let us know and we'll review our process. For states where we're getting it from a website, we almost always have very reliable effective dates. So absolutely reach out if you have any doubts, but unfortunately, this is still a tiny bit of a work in progress. Although hopefully you can see there's a lot here. We've managed to get pretty far.
Hey,
Okay, so I just wanted to highlight those alerts. So I'm sorry that I forgot that before, Michael.
yeah, no
Um,
problem.
Gabe, any chance of adding a keep me logged in box? Yes, Gabe. So when you first log in, there's a little checkbox that says remember me. If you check that box, it keeps you logged in for, I forget, like 90 days or so. So when you very first log into BillTrack50, check that box and then you're good. And then your regulational email, you'll be able to go straight to the reg and that kind of thing. So that's what that's for. Same goes for the bills, actually. Okay, so the pricing is the same. So we raised our prices in January. We are not raising our prices again. So this is the same price as it has been. We now sell regulations at a state by state level. We only sort of did before. Now we really do, and you can buy them through the system for just one state. And the national price is the same as it was. You still have your option to pay for the whole year at once or to pay for the year month by month, but the subscriptions are annual. So either way, you're signing up for a whole year of regulations. So hopefully that's good news. No price increase, just massive functionality increase. Hopefully that makes you smile. Okay. I can't imagine there's nope, the package price is the sum of the two numbers. So perhaps eventually we'll do a package price, but no. So the bills are 5,000, the regs are 2,500, and there you go. Okay, so what happened to your data? So if you've logged in, your counts on your regulation sheets almost certainly went down. So because we used to have it page by page, and now it's just one row, because we used to have every document in there, and now they're rolled up into just one row, the number of regs in our database went from 500,000 to 80,000. So that's what the rolling up did. And also, as I mentioned, we purged everything before 2024. So those are all gone too. So your reg sheets are now 2024 forward, and it's just one row per reg. So that's why your count probably went down. We did our best to match between where if you had added columns and had put comments in there, we tried very hard to take those comments on those old bulletin pages and figure out what in the world that was a comment on and put it onto the right reg. I think most of them came through, definitely not all of them. In the bulletin states in particular, it might not have been perfect. Same goes for hidden. If you had hid a reg, you were only hiding really one page of a bulletin, and we had to kind of estimate like what was being hidden. So for hidden, like we erred on the side of caution, and you might have some stuff back that you had hid before. So very sorry for work that we've lost. Hopefully, once you get everything back where it was, you will find that the system is worth this little bit of pain, but I still very much apologize for the pain. And we did our absolute best, our level best, to retain all the information you had about previous regulations. For the 2024 regulations, a little bit dicier on bringing the comments over. For 2025, hopefully they're mostly there. Okay, for older eggs, those are just gone, and they're just gone. So hopefully you got our newsletter and our emails and all of that saying, please save your data before launch. We sent several emails to that effect. So if you exported your sheet, your count is going to be different, right? You're going to have 60 on your export and only 20 now in your sheet or whatever. But go through and, if you see a reg missing or you see some comments missing, hopefully you have saved that document and you can move the data over. If you have a serious situation and crucial data has now been lost, contact us and we will work together. We did not throw it away. We just couldn't figure out how to match it. So reach out to us and we will do our absolute best to try to help you get that data back on a reg by reg basis, whatever it takes. If we have put you in a bad situation, please reach out and we will do our absolute best. You will have lost some data and I am sorry about that. Your queries should all be the same. Your reg sheet should all be there. That should all be fine. You should have still been getting alerts. We did turn it off over the weekend while we were getting everything in place. So you wouldn't have gotten alerts over the weekend, but you should be getting alerts now. But now you can go in and set new alerts, and you can go in and add those columns to your templates, and hopefully you'll be able to start using all the functionality of the new system. So again, this is the most painful thing, and believe me, it was a difficult decision to decide to throw away the old data. And also, it was very hard on me this weekend, but to lose some of those comments, I did my best. Right. Okay. So that's where that stands. Any questions about that? Any concerns? Anything that you're already worried about? Okay. Well, we're here. Me and Patsy and Michael, we're on high alert. We're waiting to help you get your sheets like you want them, and to help you, retrieve that old data if you need us to. Um, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate that. Um, okay, so things that are coming soon. Um, Suggested regs. So as I mentioned, we don't have the similar button back on the reg sheet itself. That will be coming soon. The similar button is trying to figure out what your regs have in common on that sheet and looking for other regs that might be similar to the overlap of the regs on your sheet. So just like Bill's. So that is a little bit trickier than just the single document and being like, what's this document about, and finding other documents like it. So the document similar is there. You can say, hey, look across the country, what's like this? And it seems like it's working great. So we've been happy with that performance. The suggested button on the regulation sheet to help you find regs you maybe didn't know about is coming soon. So look for that in the next little while. Roll up sheets. We did not previously let you roll up regs where you could say, hey, I want a summary, like I've got these 5 very specific things, or like these 5 different agencies in different states, roll them up into one summary so that you can report on it together, so that you can put a map up on your website or whatever, just like with bills. So we will be building roll up sheets for regs. Again, look for that coming soon. We do have the map for the regulations. So that widget is there. As I mentioned, it doesn't have links, but it does, you can put in the AI summaries or any of those other columns, and you can have your own information. So you can put whatever you want in there, and you can have the state links in there. So you just don't have the link to the BillTrack50 page. So those are there. But maybe you want stakeholder pages for regs. We'd need to talk about how you want that to work, or maybe there's some other widgets you can think of that you would want besides the map. The tiny little bill widget doesn't seem to lend itself to regs to me, because regs are more complicated than that. But maybe you have some ideas. So we're completely happy to hear your thoughts on like what widgets we could build. And then we are going to be releasing a regs API. So right now we have a bill API where you can query bills, get back information, put it on the screen. So we are going to be working on that for regs, and hopefully that will be coming very soon. And you'll be able to get a key from us and start to put regs right onto your website if you want to. Okay, Thomas says he is interested in executive orders by governors. Okay. Um, yes, I will take that under advisement. And there is a very good chance that we will start capturing those going forward as of some date. TBD. But I hear you. And anyone else who thinks that executive orders from governors would be quite useful, let me know. And that will move that up on the priority. But if you want it, we want you to have it. So we'll see what we can do there. Okay. Any other questions? What can we do for you? Any concerns? Are you happy? What do you think? Michael, anything you think I forgot to say?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this, but Karen, Karen and the team actually built the original regulatory tool for me upon my request, got 10, 12 years ago. And this, what we have now is even beyond what I would have hoped for back then. I'm really impressed with what we're offering now. I really believe it's the best regulatory tool on the market.
Thank you, Michael. Glad you like it. Um, so Steve, happy to talk scorecards anytime, but that's not a regs thing. So reach out to me and we can do whatever you want. But it'll just be you and me. Pam, thank you so much. Aw. appreciate that. It has been hard work. Um, okay, yes, and Patsy is the best, Megan. I agree with that. Okay, so if there's nothing else, I think that is what I wanted to say. I think I showed you the basics. You know what happened to your data. You know what's coming next. Um, so now get in there. Play with your template. Make sure you're getting the add the extra columns that you think would be useful. Add some extra stuff to your queries if you want. Get some new alerts. So it's gonna keep behaving like it was until you go in and like grab some of that extra data, but it's there. So thank you very much, and absolutely reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help make this transition to the new system easier. Um, so wait, last slide. Write to me, Karen at Legination, or write to Michael if you have like specific regulation questions. He's your guy for the actual policy involved. Um, I'm more of the data involved. And yeah, we're happy to tell you sources. We're happy to tell you, like, help you figure out a good query or whatever else we can do to help you. And thank you, Steve. And do drop me a note and we'll talk scorecards at your leisure. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording, and I sure appreciate your coming. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.